not stealing the set, I'm stealing the show!
Sam, get him!
Great job, gang. Now let's see who this criminal truly is.
Wait a minute.
Old Man Austin!
And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling geeks.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Geeking Out About It, chosen by you, the viewers at home. I'm Chance Giguiere.
I'm Andrew Foran.
And today we're here to talk about Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo is a long-running mystery cartoon series created by Hanna-Barbera, the people who made the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Yogi Bear, etc. It's been on since 1969 and it shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. Now that we've introduced it, let's meet some of our characters, the members of Mystery Incorporated.
Our first character is Fred, who is the leader of the gang. He's a big fan of traps and maybe has a crush on Daphne. He's not really sure about it himself yet.
Next up, we have Daphne Blake, who also happens to have a pretty big crush on Fred as well. Maybe they date, maybe they kiss. Daphne also gets really good at martial arts later in the series, but for the early incarnations of the character, she was always kind of the damsel in distress.
Next up, you got Velma, who is the smart one in the group. She's always the one who finds the clues and figures things out, and there's a lot of crushes in this show.
Yeah.
Not thinking about it. She may be dating Shaggy depending on which timeline you're in. The timeline for the show is a little wonky, but her and Shaggy may or may not have a thing.
Speaking of, we've got Shaggy Rogers next, and Shaggy is kind of the laid-back hippie guy of the group. Him and his dog Scooby, they are always up to do something. If it means that they get food, they eat just, ridiculously tall sandwiches and anything they can get their hands on. And they're often a little bit cowardly, but they'll always rise up to the challenge and be brave when they need to.
And then next up you got the man himself, the dog himself, Scooby-Doo, the talking canine who is very hungry for Scooby snacks and pretty much leads the gang also, but not really. He's their mascot.
And finally, we have Scrappydew. Scrappydew isn't a main character, but he shows up enough to be worth mentioning. He's Scooby-Doo's kid nephew. Now, personally, I'm not very familiar with Scrappy from my exposure to Scooby-Doo. Andrew, you have anything you want to add?
Scrappy-Doo, I'm trying to think how many different things I've seen Scrappy-Doo, and I was looking at the DVDs over here. I think there's 2 DVDs in this whole collection that actually have Scrappy on them. Scrappy is very rambunctious, and he has 2 catchphrases. Puppy power and let me at him. Yeah.
Yeah, I really only remember Scrappy-Doo from it was the first live-action movie. Yeah, he was the surprise villain. So,
Spoilers.
Sorry for the spoiler alert if you haven't seen Scooby-Doo 2002.
Hey, look, Velms. A man in a mask.
I shall absorb! Puppy power! I'm outsmarted!
Like we mentioned, this show has been on for a long time, since 1969 with the original series, and even into its current incarnation, the basic formula of each episode is still the same. Andrew, would you care to give us a little more detail?
Yeah, so the show kind of follows a very basic timeline premise where it starts with the mystery happening. Could be a robbery, could be someone dressing up as a ghost and haunting an old pier. It just happens. So there's that. And then the gang, who we have already talked about, kind of stumbles upon this mystery. Or does someone, I don't know if someone pays them.
It depends. Sometimes they find it, sometimes someone asks them to solve it.
Yeah, Weird Branch, do they get paid? Maybe. Anyway.
They're doing it for college credit.
They stumble upon this mystery or are given this mystery, and so they go about their job of hunting down the clues, which usually Velma does. Along the way, they tend to split up, which leads to some wacky hijinks where Scooby and Shaggy tend to get chased by the monster in some fashion. Maybe Daphne gets captured in some way. Things like that happen pretty often. Finally, it comes down to Fred, who makes a trap to catch the monster, and they capture this villain and save the day. And it always ends with them pulling off the mask, revealing that it is in fact a real person and not a monster at all. Crazy to think about. Who would think that monsters could be real in this universe?
Turns out the real monsters were the humans all along.
Crazy. And then I'm
there
trying
was
to think.
one incarnation where they really leaned into the supernatural. It was Mystery Incorporated.
Mystery
I
Incorporated
believe.
follows a more story-based timeline where there's an overarching story for the entire series. It only ran 2 seasons, but there actually is supernatural things in this universe, and it's kind of a weird spot. But I think it's one of the cooler timelines of Scooby-Doo, and it tends to lean towards a more adult audience than a kid's audience, which I think was a really interesting way to go with it.
Yeah, from the bits and pieces I've seen of Mystery Incorporated, it definitely has a much more mature tone. It's not quite as Monster of the Week episodic, but it's more of an overarching story. The character relationships are developed a lot more. There's a lot more kind of character introspection. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where a lot of that, oh, Daphne and Freddy are dating. I was just going to Scooby and Shaggy kiss. No, Shaggy and Velma kiss. Stuff like that happens in that series a lot. It's pretty much like the Riverdale of Scooby-Doo.
That's a good way to put it.
It's a more like teenager kind of esque show.
It's more entertaining than Riverdale, though.
Yeah, by far. Over the years, Scooby-Doo has had a ton of crossovers. They've met with everyone from Batman and Robin to the Harlem Globetrotters. They've kind of been all over the place. And it's kind of goes to show their wide appeal to a large number of audiences, but also the power of cross-universe media. And so, speaking of which, they've appeared in other formats as well. There have been comics. There's the DC run of comics called Scooby-Pocalypse, which is future Scooby-Doo, and it's the apocalypse. And then, of course, there is the ill-fated live-action Scooby-Doo films, which I learned the other day there's actually 5 of. I thought for the longest time there was only 4, but there's a 5th one. There were the original 2 from, like Chance said earlier, 2002, the first live-action Scooby-Doo, and the follow-up Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. And then there was a Cartoon Network made-for-TV duo of movies, Curse of the Lake Monster and The Mystery Begins, I want to say were the names of those ones.
Mystery Begins was the 3rd one to come out, and it was a prequel to the first 2 live-action movies. Curse of the Lake Monster, I have no idea when that takes place. I didn't know that existed.
After that one, and then there is one that I have never seen but I've just heard about called Velma and Daphne?
Daphne and Velma? Yeah, 2018.
Like
it was a straight-to-DVD movie.
Weird that exists.
Scooby does a lot better in animation than in live action.
Yeah. Maybe someday we'll get a good live action Scooby-Doo. Maybe they'll bring back Matthew Lillard. And
maybe we'll make it.
Speaking of Matthew Lillard, I forgot to mention this earlier. Matthew Lillard, who played Shaggy in the first 2 live action Scooby-Doo movies, actually went on to voice Shaggy in the TV show as well. I think he still does. For a number of years he has now. And same with Linda Cardellini, who played Velma in those movies, did not actually go on to voice Velma, but she is in Mystery Incorporated as the hit character Hot Dog Water.
What?
There's a character named Hot Dog Water.
Oh, all right. You're just gonna drop that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hot Dog Water is Velma's rival in that series. It makes sense.
Well, now we got to go back to the characters because we can't talk about Scooby-Doo and not talk about Hot
Dog Water.
Ay, ay, ay.
I'm afraid creepy, spooky Terrorland may be beyond saving. Oh, I'm the owner, Winslow Fleech, and this is my daughter.
Hot Dog Water. Hello, Velma.
Hot Dog Water? Is that some sort of nickname, honey? Here, look, sometimes I recycle the water we boil the park's hot dogs in for bathing to save money, but...
It's okay, Dad. We don't need to explain our ways, Besides, Velma and I are old friends from the science fair circuit.
Yeah, sorry about beating you again this year.
It's hard to talk about Scooby-Doo without talking about its impressive legacy in the world of cartoons. Since 1969, generation after generation of kids have grown up watching this show, and now with the other formats, they've grown up watching the movies, playing the games. My primary exposure to Scooby-Doo as a kid was actually Scooby-Doo Night of 100 Frights on the PS2, which unfortunately we were not able to get a copy of, so we have other
copy
GameCube
in
games.
that case.
Oh, we don't have the box.
It's in there. we have it. I'm trying to think. I had a question for you, actually.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite rendition of Scooby-Doo, like TV show rendition?
Ooh. I'd say my favorite series of Scooby-Doo was What's New Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
That was the one I saw the most as a kid. That's what I have the most nostalgia for. I've seen bits and pieces of Mystery Incorporated. I do like that quite a bit. I've been watching it more recently.
Solid.
What about you? What's your favorite incarnation of everyone's favorite mystery-solving dog?
Everyone's favorite. It is my favorite cartoon, actually. My joke answer, my favorite is a pup named Scooby-Doo. Very weird show. There's like 3 different cheese monsters in that show, I swear. Yeah, the cheese monster. It's exactly what it sounds like. But I think my favorite probably has to be Mystery Incorporated. I love the new route they went with the show, and I think it really paid off in the end.
Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this episode of Geeking Out About It. Thank you so much for watching. This is our final episode for the term. We hope to be back in the fall. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out the rest of our KBVR TV content. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter, as well as Twitch at twitch.tv/KBVRTV26. For Geeking Out About It, I'm Chance Giguiere.
I'm Andrew Foran.
Thank you for watching.